Hi, everybody. It's Carol Clark here, and welcome to Build the Weight Loss Practice of Your Dreams. This week, I am piggybacking on our podcast from last week, which was, of course, how to avoid the 5 top money wasting problems in your weight loss practice. I'm going to give you 3 bonus ones today that you might not have thought about. I can come up with lots of different ones, but this is something that I do see on a regular basis, and we're just going to dive right into it. The first one is trying to be a generalist instead of more of a specialist in your practice. And when this occurs, this is what it looks like. You start out offering one thing, and then of course, I'm somebody who talks about adding revenue streams and how beneficial that is, help lots of people do it through the pandemic. But sometimes you can take on new revenue streams or new projects before you actually have your main specialty really nailed down and working like a fine-oiled machine with systems in place and everything working really well. You will find that you will drive yourself less crazy, you will drive your team less crazy if you really make sure that is fine-tuned before you start to add on additional complementary revenue streams. So that's another area where I see some potential money wasting, because you end up really driving everyone crazy when you're trying to do all sorts of different things all at the same time without having a little bit of not closure, so to speak, but having those systems in place regarding your main thing. You do want to be that specialist. You want people to know what you are known for. And then once they know what you offer, they come in, they experience that, they have a great experience. They're sending friends, colleagues are sending more patients to you. As that's all happening, then you build this group of people that you can then promote your additional revenue streams to. And it's always complementary things that are going to benefit them in their journey towards their improved health. But making sure that you're not starting that way too soon before your practice or your team is really ready for it. That's one of them. The next one is actually lack of ownership. So oftentimes in a practice, depending on how large or small it is, and I see it both in really large practices that have multiple locations down to, startups. I get to work with startups and helping them bring their practice to fruition from the ground up. But sometimes you can have a lack of delegation and a lack of ownership for the different systems in your practice and projects and revenue streams that you have. And oftentimes the owner or the administrator or the manager thinks they have to do it all. And what you then form is a really big bottleneck. And it makes them crazy. You never feel like you're doing a good job. You feel like you're always working. You're up in the middle of the night thinking about the things that have to get done. And yet you probably have a really great team who wants to be helpful, but they just don't even know how to help because you can't let go of anything. So not being able to delegate and to have ownership with your team members for different projects and systems in your practice ends up creating a bottleneck and prevents your progress. And it prevents you from expanding your practice, bring your vision to fruition. It makes you crazy. It makes you feel very, very stressed. And so that's the second sort of money wasting area that I see that as a bonus one, in addition to the 5 that we covered last week. And then finally, not setting clear expectations and measuring and interpreting your key performance indicators for your team. So you have to have your vision. Then you determine what your goals are, and then you can't just keep it a secret. And I have done this before. I always think, oh, I don't want to share it with them. I don't want them to think this or that, but you have to share at least that big picture with your team. And then figure out from your organizational chart, how does everybody fit into that? Who's going to take responsibility for different aspects of that? And if they have responsibility for that, what resources do they need? How can you best provide them? What training do they need? What are you going to do in terms of measurement so that you can make sure that you are tracking the progress and that you are seeing progress. And having that all in place is something that will prevent you from wasting money in the long run. And so often, I did this for years, whether I was a hospital administrator, whether I was a manager in general surgery, whether I was doing bariatrics, whether I was in information, no matter what position I held, I tend to hold on to things because I feel like I need to make sure that I can do it all just right. That's part of a perfectionism and a little bit of obsessive compulsiveness. But boy, when I learned delegation and truly having people have responsibility for projects and what's going on in whatever position I had, it was like a weight being lifted. It was like when the sun comes out and the clouds and the birds are chirping. I'm not kidding you. It's not that drastic, but it is something that all of a sudden you're like, wow, why did I do it that way for so long? I just had to set the expectations, make sure that I was very clear about those, make sure that they knew that I was there for them in terms of helping with guidance, but that I trusted them to get to the outcome and the key performance indicator that we had established. So making sure they have the resources and the training, and that they understand what's expected. People rise to the occasion far more often than you think. It's kind of like with your kids. You feel like you need to, you need to be keeping a close eye on them. Right now, I have one of my children is traveling abroad. I'm used to micromanaging a little bit about like just making sure everything's going okay, and I don't have control over that. And it's one of those things that I have to let go of. And it's the same way in our practice. We have to let people do the job that they want to do, let them use their talents to the maximum capacity. And when we don't do that, we drive ourselves crazy. We drive them crazy. We increase turnover. We have poorer performance, and it's just really not good for anyone that's involved. So let's make it a win-win and take the time to acknowledge those 3 additional bonus money wasting practices that you may have within your weight loss practice. And if you want to chat about any of those, feel free to reach out to me, Carol, Karol, at weightlosspracticebuilder.com. We've got lots of resources to help with all of that. And like I say, I'm making a couple of changes to Bariatric Business Boss. Anyone who's in there right now is going to be grandfathered in, but I'm so excited. It's things that I get asked about every single day, and we're going to make those available at their fingertips. So can't wait to bring that to you. But in the meantime, of course, don't try to be a generalist, be a specialist first, and then add on complementary revenue streams rather than everything at once. The next thing is try to make sure that you do not have a lack of ownership, or you're not trying to hold on to everything and becoming a bottleneck, whether it's you or one of your team members. And then finally, of course, not setting those clear expectations and measurements for your key performance indicators from the time you post your job all the way through to your evaluations. And I like to touch base weekly with the team. And I know that may sound extreme, but really it shows your interest. It shows that you are there to support them, and it helps you keep an eye on what's exactly going on. So I hope that was helpful for you. Reach out to me if I can help. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week. Take care.